President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged that Nigeria would continue to deploy resources towards combating piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Buhari stated this on Tuesday in Accra, the Ghanaian capital, during the third extraordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the Gulf of Guinea Commission. The president disclosed that in June 2021, the government launched $195 million worth of boats, vehicles, and aircraft to fight piracy in the region through the Deep Blue Project. He identified regular meetings among countries that make up the Gulf of the Guinea Commission as a critical route towards peace and security in the region. Arise analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss this claim by the president and assess the impact of the spending on maritime security in the region. It's good to have you in the studio, Mr. Dayo.
To be here. Happy to be here. Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, yesterday we were just talking about, this GCC meeting that was happening in Ghana. And as of yesterday, we were not sure what was going to come out of it. But now, speaking for the last time as Nigeria's president, we're seeing President Buhari say that the government launched $195 million worth of boats, vehicles, and aircraft to fight piracy. Now, what do you think about this figure? Do you think it's just right? Do you think it might be a bit overboard? How does it affect, maritime security as well as the impact of what's currently going on in the Gulf region?
Right. It's an ongoing thing. He's attending it for the last time. Nigeria hosted it last year. And what he's saying is that Nigeria pledged that amount for something called the Deep Blue Project to fight piracy, to get vehicles, speedboats, maritime security vehicles to stem the tide of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea stretches from Senegal to Angola. And most of the world's trade moves on the high seas. In our own case, our oil, what we depend on as our lifeline, you get me, is moved. The gasoline is moved in, the oil is moved out on this area. But then there are pirates attacking ships and making the trade dangerous. And in the process, affecting our economic and physical lifeline. You see, the pirates stop ships. They do like people do on land. They kidnap people, they kidnap crew. And most of these crew members are international citizens. They are ships. You see the ships carrying containers. They don't necessarily bear the name of, say, Nigeria, what have you. For I worked in a shipping company some time ago. Most of these ships on the high seas, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, they fly the flag of Liberia. There must have been some economic reason for that based on insurance, security, and so on. But our lifeline is trade on the high seas, and that is hampered by piracy. Although we have spent a lot of money on it, like the Ghanaian president who said this, who said this last meeting, he said African countries must pool resources, pool intelligence, pay their dues, get me, to be able to monitor our coastline, because that's where our trade goes on. We are still lucky we have not reached the stage of the Horn of Africa. Get me? The Horn of Africa, there was a time even the United Nations asked ships, international countries to intervene to chase pirates. You get me? Into that area, so to secure the area for sea trade and to protect merchant navy carrying the world's cargo. So what our president has done is to put in place something to guarantee our economic lifeline, to make his money well spent. His money well spent. But then, the issue of piracy is like the issue of corruption on land. this is corruption on the ISIS. Those who are pirates are people who have lost their livelihood through oil exploration and things like that. And they want to exist one way or the other. But you see, those who should police, just like you have on land, you have burglary, armed robbery, and all that, the same thing. The same thing. Those who should police, the Navy is involved now. They are doing joint, even the African Navy, they are going to have a naval exercise on May 15, and they will do it in Lagos. Let me give you an interesting example. There was a time they were doing the exercise, the US, Nigerian Navy, and I think the Togolese Navy, and they were doing the exercise to simulate, but they ran into real piracy going on. So they had to use live ammunition to dislodge those pirates. You see, the pirates, they are desperate. And right now, they make more money from ransom than any other thing. So it is up to our governments, especially those governments in the Gulf of Guinea, to pool resources, to pool intelligence, like the Interpol. You know, the international police system. They do it all over the world. In Europe, they exchange information. They train people. They simulate exercises to monitor and combat these people. And that is force. Force is what is needed. And the will is there on the part of Nigeria. We have made, on the coast of West Africa, only Nigeria and Togo have criminalized piracy. The others don't have laws on piracy. We have our own piracy and Offences Act, which we passed maybe about 2-3 years ago. We have it so that people can be prosecuted. If they know that they are being prosecuted and they are going to be a form of deterrent to discourage piracy. And then people have suggested that piracy, in chasing pirates, we should not limit it to the ISIS. That, of course, whatever they get on the ISIS, they will go back to land. So the police should team up, like us, with the coastal guards with the customs, and all those intelligence and security apparatus. They should team together and exchange information so they can pursue the pirates. Because our economic lifeline is at stake.
Noted. Thank you, Mr. Sobowale. Now, of course, you touched on it quite a bit, you know, the root being corruption. Mm-hmm. And when we look at poverty, yeah, thank you as well. When we look at how this $195 million was spent, it went more towards the acquisition of equipment like aircraft and whatnot. But findings from Nigeria actually suggest that, you know, the piracy is also thriving because of weak legal and jurisdictional systems, yes, law enforcement, and the security apparatus of the nation. That's in terms of Guinea. Now, is enough pressure being put on Guinea to address these aspects? Because it's
not Guinea as a country per se. That's the name of the commission, Gulf of Guinea.
I'm aware. I'm talking about the countries affected. Is enough pressure being put on these countries to handle those aspects in terms of, you know, the law enforcement and weak judicial systems and whatnot? Because that doesn't seem like where the focus is going to right now with the money in terms of acquiring the equipment and whatnot.
You see, the money must have been spent even now. Mm-hmm. Do you get me? But you know, our own president is going out. The president of Ghana has taken over. Mm-hmm. And he is as committed as our president. But then there was a lull. You know, there was COVID. Mm-hmm. Before they were having it by this system of communication during called Zoom meetings. So I think after 3 years now, this is about the first time they're having the meeting live. And they're calling on nations to make their own contributions. They have agreed a certain percentage that people should put down. But then hands are not equal. You know, some nations will not be able to pay. For example, a nation like, say, Benin Republic. There was a time the pirates, you know, blocked almost 50% of their revenue, which they get from ports. Get me? So we had to go and borrow money. But the spirit is there. The spirit is there. And the Navy too is not relenting. The Navy, the customs, those involved in the coastal areas. And then, of course, you know our own problem here in Nigeria. Most of the piracy takes place around our own delta area. Get me? Because Nigeria is the biggest nation in terms of oil, followed by Angola. But the others, since they are coastal, they have coastal cities, so they depend on revenue from the ports. And if the pirates are not contained, that revenue will dwindle. The poverty that started before will return again at the individual level to national level.
All right, very quickly before we go to break now, we are very aware of the fact that President Buhari is on his way out. So what can the Nigerian government do to put in place like measures that ensure that the gains made in reducing piracy in the Gulf of Guinea are sustained over the long term, as well as being able to promote economic development in the region, so that there's a certain level of continuity between both administrations?
You should mention something now about training and putting in place appropriate laws, you get me, in various jurisdictions. You see, pirates, somebody said pirates are very fluid. You know, if they are blocked in one section, you know, the ISIS, they move to another area. So there must be surveillance. There must be, there was a time we paid some money for putting in place technology to detect oil theft, to know where vessels are, so they can track them. But then, you see, some of those pirates, even if they put on the equipment, they turn off the gadget, so it's difficult to locate them. But then, it is such technological surveillance that will be very effective. That, the jurisdiction, the training of security personnel, and constant patrolling.
Well said.
Patrolling of the coastal areas.
Thank you so much, Arise News analyst.